Alright guys, today I'm going to challenge myself to make Enigman work. So, we recently had the Dimension Police event, which gave us a lot of interesting little cards. But above all else, it actually gave us some Enigman support, which is kind of wild because it was a deck that I really liked playing in early Vanguard 0, and it was something that I thought would never actually crop up again, so it's actually pretty nice to see it again. And the support does make the deck, you know, a lot more viable than it was before. However, it still really isn't that great by itself. It has a couple of issues in that they don't really do enough. The actual stride that we got is pretty bad. It doesn't really do much. And the supporting pieces are nice, but there's just not enough there to form a sort of cohesive game plan. At least from what I've seen, there's definitely a game plan there, but it's just, I guess, not as effective, maybe. So instead what I've done is I've found a way to sort of combine Enigman and Metalborgs and make basically Metal Enigman here. And basically what you end up doing is you can use the Enigman ride line to not only draw cards but also search out your grade 2 ride, so you don't actually have to ride any of your like useful grade 2s. So I can go ahead and go here, go into Enigman Wave, and he actually has an effect where actually, if his attack is 14 or greater before boost and before drive checks, he can actually let you draw a card, right? So you can use that to draw a card. Basically, you +2 from the ride line, which is kind of nice. It doesn't really affect Metalborgs in any way, shape, or form, because they don't really care about what their grade 1s or their grade 2s Vanguards do beforehand. And in situations where I go first, unfortunately this time we went second, so I can't really show that off for you. I can actually push pretty hard, because I can actually go ahead and, for example, push my opponent to 4 using Enigman's Storm's effect here, where if he has 50 more attack, he actually gets an additional crit, which is pretty easy to, you know, get with cards like Blizzard that work for both Enigman and for Enigman Storm. But, for example, against like things like Vanquisher, where they don't really let you Legion, you can, for example, choose which path you want to take. You can try and see if you can Legion, or instead you can try and go the Enigman route. So it kind of gives the deck that kind of like versatility, whereas like Enigman Storm doesn't do much by itself. You can then also rely on the Metalborg side. But for example, some of the weaknesses of the Metalborg side is that they're both relying on you having to Legion and also striding. If that's kind of difficult for you, you can fall back on the Enigman part, and you know, at least you get a crit for the most part every turn on your Vanguard swings. So I think I will actually try to Legion here. There's really not too much of a point in striding because I'm not going to be able to Legion for a bit. So let's go ahead and overcall a couple of grade 3s here before my opponent gets the opportunity to go ahead and retire my whole field. I am unfortunately going to have to play a stride fodder here. I have no way to boost up Enigman, unfortunately. That's one of the problems, is that by himself Enigman doesn't really do anything, so you have to really rely on your grade 2s, which isn't too hard. Pretty much every grade 2 I have can help out Enigman, but in this situation I don't really have any of those. Instead, what we can do here is actually draw a card, which is kind of nice. And we don't have any drop for this guy to go ahead and bind everything. He's actually playing Brawlers as well. I've seen that sort of pop up a little bit. Just kind of get the best of both worlds, similar to what we're doing, so can't say I blame them. And now I can actually go ahead and use the Metalborg side of the deck, which lets me go into Heavy Duke, which is a really good stride, and it in general is really good because it actually lets you draw a bunch of cards. Let's see if we can actually get to that next turn. We're gonna have to hit a draw trigger into a strike fight or a grade 3. We do have relatively all of our triggers in deck, so that is pretty possible. We're not gonna have anything on board, regretfully. That is kind of okay. We are gonna hit a draw trigger here, but it is unfortunately gonna be a grade 2, which is nice, but it's not the best. This is actually not gonna be able to hit, because you have RPG. I don't know why you would play Vanquishers with crits, because you need most of your things to hit, but sure, whatever. I guess if I didn't have the PG, I would have died. That is unfortunate. I could hard stride here, but I don't think that's really worth it. So we're going to go ahead and not stride here. We're actually just going to just use this. Every time I do that, every time I play the Blizzard, I automatically go ahead and use the Counterblast, even though there's really no point to it, because you get the guard break when he's at 3,000 or more, or 30,000 or more, but at the same time, he's not at 5, and he doesn't get a crit, so it doesn't matter. I'm just always monkey braining and going ahead and doing that, but nonetheless, we can go ahead and stride next turn, and there are 4, so we can start popping some grade 3s. They've already discarded some, so they've discarded 3 here, they have 1 in here, so that's 4. 5, and they are playing crits. So in terms of grade 3s, they really shouldn't have a lot left. So we might actually be able to win this next turn. We'll see. Unless they have a bunch of heal guards, which is a different story. But we're gonna ahead and bind all of our drop. That's all Vanquisher does. Yep, PG, that's good. That's the first time I've seen a Vanquisher player do that right, because usually they just monkey brain it and automatically see triggers and, you know, pick the triggers. But obviously you don't want to let me countercharge, so. Good job. Unfortunately, he's been swinging with really, really big attacks, which has been kind of annoying, considering I don't really have any more PGs, really. I just have this one here, so these big attacks. Oh, these heal guards. Alright, maybe now I can triple heal guard his next attack. So we are here, so let's go ahead and actually use this, like, actually here to boost this and give this the booster. So we can try and see if we can go through a couple of heal guards here. Let's go ahead and counterblast 2, which now makes us get a crit, and if we hit, we actually get to draw 2. See if we can pop as many heal guards as possible and maybe even win the game here. Since I don't think they have any grade 3s. Oof! Triple heal guard. Wise. Alright. We should still be fine because they're more than likely just going to go into the Vanquisher. Or, sorry, not the Vanquisher. The Conquest. And then attack 3 times. But we can block all those attacks, and then next turn. We can't really do much because we don't have the counterblast. We'll get 1 counter charge here, and that is about it. Unless he hits my PG here, which is a smart move. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, because at the moment I don't have anything I can do. However, if I do top deck the Enigman, I can actually win this next turn because I'll have the guard restrict. Let's see, as long as he doesn't, he can't heal, and he has 1 grade 3 or trigger left in deck somewhere. That's his last heal, so he has at most PGs in hand. Let's go ahead and see if we can get the Enigman here to close this out, please. Nope, it's gonna be a PG. That's a bit unfortunate. It's not really much that I can do. I can just kind of like swing to face twice, but then I have no way next turn to I have no way next turn to stop another conquest if he has it. I also have no way next turn to survive, right? I could go into the Duke, but anything I draw is really not going to help me, per se. And I don't really have enough triggers. I just have 1 heal, 1 draw. So that's not really going to change my game plan up a lot. So I think I'm actually just going to ride skip and just go ham here, because there's no way I can survive unless they just don't have another conquest. But I mean, I might as well try and winning here, knowing that they have no heals left. They probably have a whole hand of PGs, but might as well try and go for game here. I'm gonna be able to draw the Enigman, unfortunately. I'm gonna be able to hit a heal trigger here, so once again, in hindsight, I would have probably survived, but instead I decided to go balls to the wall, and now we're gonna more than likely lose here, unless for some reason they don't have the conquest that they can go into. I don't know why they did. Oh, they're gonna attack any other way. So unless they don't check anything, but they get their last trigger, which actually is still not enough. So there's no way they win here. They just kill my grade 3 there. And we actually do get the Enigman. All right, let's go. Let's go for it. I know they don't have any grade 3s left. Let's just go ahead and do this. And since I am at 5, I do have guard break. They don't have any heals left, no triggers left. They could have 2 PGs right now, doesn't matter because we break right through it. Never mind what I said before, I am the best player in the world and I just automatically win because that's what I do. That's just how it be. So here's the actual deck. As I mentioned, I kind of use Enigman as an engine. We have the grade 0 Enigman here, where if you ride Ripple over him, you can search your deck for a wave, and if you call, or you ride Enigman Storm, you can call him out from the soul. We have Enigman Squall, which is one of the new units we got from the clan event. He counts as Enigman Ripple if he's in the soul or as Vanguard circle. So when you ride him, it's actually the same thing, which is really nice. So you can search out your wave, and then if he attacks or he boosts an attack that hits, you can give an Enigman on field 4k if that attack was to Vanguard. Ripple is the old grade 1 that we used to have. He just, you know, gets 2k if you have Flow, the starter. In soul and on place, you can discard a grade 3 to search out Enigman Storm. Maybe that can help, you know, get you to Legion faster. You play 3 of the Stride Fodder. They're not super necessary, but you could argue that you kind of need them in order to go to Heavy Duke. We're going to play just 1 of the wave because we're going to be searching it out anyways, and he doesn't really do anything else except on Vanguard Circle. Wherever his attack, if it hits and it was 14 before, you know, boost and before attacking, he gets you to draw a card, which is nice. So you get to search out a grade 2, and then from the grade 2 you get to draw a card as long as you find a way to boost it, which you can very easily do with Crescent here, because on place he gives your Enigman Vanguard 4k, and as you just saw, if you have 5 cards in your damage and your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3, I don't know why you would be at 5 damage and be at a grade 2 Vanguard, but then you get a guard restrict, where if your opponent doesn't have a grade 3 to discard, they cannot Sentinel, which is really good. Then we have, you know, just the Metaborg Legion mate here, which is, you know, pretty decent. Once you Legion and he's on board, you can give your Vanguard 4k, and if it attacks, you can retire a unit. And finally, for the grade 2, we have the Blizzard here, Metaborg Russell Blizzard, on place kind of +1, and give your Vanguard 4k, and if it's in Legion, give him an additional 4k. So this gives you the requirement for the Sim Buster, and it gives you the requirement for Enigman Storm. So this card is really, really amazing in this kind of deck. For your grade 3s, it's pretty much 4 Storm, 4 Sin Buster, and then 1 of this guy, which allows you to search out your Legion. I tried to put the new grade 3 that we have, Tornado, but he's really not that useful, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. So Tornado here is okay. At the end of the battle, if his attack was 19 or greater before the attack, so not counting boost or drive checks, you can counterblast 1, discard 2, ride Enigman Storm from your soul, and that, you know, Enigman Storm gets an additional 10,000 power, so it is going to have the crit, which is kind of nice. It's an extra vanguarding attack. I think you draw 2 cards. Okay, so you discard 2, draw 2. And he has an additional skill where on Vanguard Circle you can put an Enigman into your soul to give him 4k. So you can very easily put your extra Enigman Storm into the soul to use him for later. But this was just really difficult to actually use as a win condition. You really only want to use this really when your opponent's like late game, so they ended up not really doing anything beforehand, and it was kind of annoying to try and draw into a tornado and everything else. So I ended up not doing all that and ended up just combining them with Metalborgs because I can go into the Legion, which is nice just for the fact that it's Legion. It has the guard restrict when it's 30k or more, and if it's, you know, Legion, when it's 20k or more attack, it can go ahead and draw your card before it attacks. Then the main piece we go to is the Heavy Duke. You counterblast 2 if you have a Metalborg Vanguard, so you have to switch off from Enigman Storm. If the attack hits, you draw a card equal to how many of the Metalborg Hearts cards you have. So if you're in Legion, you get to draw 2. And if you're in Legion, you get an additional crit. And on top of that, he gets the guard break as well. So your opponent has to discard a grade 3 or greater in order to Sentinel. So we got a lot of guard break in this deck, and for relatively pretty easy cost. For the most part. And that is a way better boss monster than the Stride here, the Crossway Ray, which doesn't really do much. At the start of the battle phase, you have to rest a bunch of units in order for him to get a bunch of attack. And if you do that through this effect, if it's at least 5k, he gets an additional crit. And that's it. Doesn't do anything else for you. Doesn't get guard break or anything like that. You could use this with Crescent, but you have to rest your entire back row, just 3 units in the back, just in order to get enough attack to proc this, which is really hard to do nowadays with like everyone retiring stuff and it being really hard to like even have a back row sometimes. So you kind of need a whole full board to do that. You might as well play something like Laurel, but you can't even use Laurel with that because you're resting a bunch of units. So I don't really understand how that's supposed to work. Let's just go on to the next match here. Ooh. We actually facing off against Angel Feather. I tried to record this a couple of times, but stuff just kept interrupting me in the middle of recording. And one of the times I tried to record this, I did actually face off against Angel Feather, which is kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and get rid of this and this. We're going to get a grade 2, but we might need this to boost up, so let's go ahead and keep the Barrett. We get a Crescent anyway, so that's good. So we're going first, so we can actually go ahead and use the Enigman Storm strat here. Don't know how useful that's going to be against Angels, but we'll see. Go ahead and get our Enigman Wave. It's almost like we have a ride deck. It's kind of cool. But yeah, I tried to use the, regular Enigman stuff, and it's just, they didn't really seem potent enough, it didn't really seem like you can really do too much. It was just kind of like a lot of setup for very little payoff. So I just went ahead and I just mixed it in with Metalborg, and, going into Heavy Duke and whatnot is just a better endgame, and you can always just mix things up. As I said before, you can go towards Metalborg, and then maybe at the end you can go back into Enigman because you already have the setup for that, right? So you can go either way. So it's kind of nice in that regard. Let's go with the usual weenie play here, and unfortunately set this up in the back. I hate putting this here because you can't use them to boost, to power up, Enigma and Storm, which is a bit unfortunate, but I want this attack to hit. Let's go ahead and make it hit. There we go. Definitely would have needed a boost here, so let's go ahead and swing in. Hopefully we can get a draw. Very good. So now we can actually power up our Enigman Storm without using the Barrett, so he actually gets powered up. We can then also use this. We'll see if they play anything. If not, I'll just go into this. No, they do. Alright. So we can go into this, swing, and then hit him with crits. They also ended up losing this, which is nice, so we don't have to worry about that coming back into the deck. I think they just added a heal guard to hand. From hand. Yep, they just added a heal guard. Alright, good to know. Actually, they were forced to play the Stride Fodder, which is interesting. So we can push jumps to 3 here. We can't Legion yet, so that's basically the game plan, right? Not really much else that we can do. Also, by the way, Kilte Reverse has a line for Enigman Storm. I don't know if I said that already, and it is way better than I think the original one. Not that the original one was bad, but that line with the Reverse Kilte is really good. Reverse Kilte is actually amazing. He's probably the best out of all of the Reverse skins, probably. The voice actor put in really good work. Nice draw there. So we have 2 draw triggers in the drop we're legioning next turn. We can push our opponent to 3 here. And we're going to go ahead and not use that, unfortunately. We don't really have a very aggressive hand, so we'll see what we can do. We could, I guess, technically go into this if I wanted to. Bring out the Enigman Storm, put that in the drop, and then Legion with that. That might be an option that we can do, but we'll see. Is this on, like, limit break? Nope, it's just whenever I want. And it gives that unit 3k, which I don't know if that carries over when we Legion, but we'll see. So we're going to put that. I'm surprised they're even playing that one. Alright, to get the crit here. They do have the multi-attack, which they're going to try and enable here by playing down the grade 3. I'm surprised they're using the Break Ride. I play a lot of Angels, and I've been trying to play them recently with strides and stuff. It hasn't worked out as good. But I am one of the people that tries to use the Romeo Break Ride, because it was really good back in the day, but now it's just a little bit too slow. I could have tried to swing in this try and get the counter charge, but there's no way that's going to be able to hit right now. They're going to be able to get to heal, regretfully, which is a bit damaging. We are in a really tough spot here. I believe we do this, right? So that way I can put in 3 triggers in deck rather than overcalling. Now let me read this card. Soul Blast 1, Cannon Blast 1 to write a card with Legion from your deck, and your Vanguard gets 3 cancel in turn. Okay, just gotta make sure I'm not fucking it up. It does shut off some of my metal board heavy Duke plays, so maybe I'll just ride into it and overcall. Maybe I'll just do that. That might be the slightly better play. I want to Legion here, so let's go ahead and get rid of this guy because he's not really useful to me at the moment. And we're going to go ahead and retire that. Let's go ahead and Legion. And we can put in, I guess, we might be able to late game go into Enigman again, so maybe we'll put back the Crescent instead of the Blizzard. We'll see how that works out for me. So we're going to be able to at least draw a card here once we attack. Unfortunately, we're not really going to be able to do much after that. We don't really have a lot of options here, so let's just go ahead and go to battle here, swing in with the Barrett. And then just swing in here and draw a card we just put back. Alright. We're going to get a heal trigger, which is very nice. I can actually, if I were to get like another heal trigger or something like that, I might actually be able to Legion again after that. But we'll see. I'll probably use this for stride fodder and then go into the Heavy Duke. And then maybe if I can, the following turn after that Legion, maybe have a Blizzard by then. But let's see if we even survive that far. We are going to have to discard both our Here Guards this turn. They're actually going to Legion this time instead of going into the Stride, which means they're not going to be as huge in power and like crits and stuff. But we'll see what happens here. They're going to swing in here. Hopefully we get a defensive. There we go. So it's a neck attack. Will not be able to hit unless it gets like the 12k Celestial, but I still don't think that hits. So that's only, that's 20. Oh, it actually gets a boost when it attacks Vanguard, I guess. Very nice. Is that what it is when it attacks Vanguard? Yeah, I don't use this. I don't use this one, I actually use the other one. So we're actually, unfortunately, going to be losing here unless we hit a heal. Stomped on by Celestials, but that's fine. This deck is kind of just for fun. I have been using it to climb, and it has been working, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the strongest deck of all time, and you know, better than Metaborgs and all that stuff, but just wanted to let you know that that's how I've managed to sort of make Enigman work. They have a couple of things that would be nice for them to get in the future, like a better stride, so they have a better, you know, mid-game plan, and if they can get an Enigman PG, that would be really dope, so you can actually search them out with Enigman Cloud, that or let Cloud actually let you search out Storm, because there's a lot of times where I just don't get Storm, right? But that's it. That'll do it for me. Take care.